Dear community, happy Father's Day to one and all. I hope everybody has a chance to reach out to their dads on this special day. To those whose fathers are already with the Lord, as is mine, a special remembrance. And rather than I trying to preach to you on this great day, instead we have 6 fathers from our community who have volunteered to give a reflection to you. 3 in English and 3 in Spanish. And with that, I will hand it over to them. Love you all.
Hello there. My name is Tom McCraw. We've been parishioners at St. Paul's for about 1.5 years now and couldn't be happier there. We certainly miss all of you, and we send you our love. So when Father Murphy sent me an email and said, how would you like to do a video on Father's Day? I didn't have the slightest idea what I was going to talk about, but you just don't turn down Father Murphy. So at any rate, I got to thinking about it, and I decided that the easiest thing for me to do would be to talk about the reason why I'm a father, and that's my children. Our oldest son is 44 years old today, and I know exactly what I was doing 44 years ago. Christopher lives in Portland, Oregon, and he's our free spirit. He hasn't owned a car in 15 or 20 years. He bicycles everywhere. And Portland is a good city for that because everybody bicycles there. He's a computer guy, and even though I don't understand exactly what his company does or what he does, he seems to be happy, he seems to be successful, and he seems to enjoy it. Our middle daughter, Meredith, turned 40 in March. Kind of a traumatic birthday for anybody, and especially traumatic in the pandemic when you don't even hardly get to celebrate it. At any rate, she and her husband, Mark, live in Grapevine, and they have given us 2 of the joys in our life, Evan and Ellie. I want you to know, if you're not a grandparent yet, you have something to really look forward to. It is truly a lot easier being a grandfather than it ever was to be a father, and we love them all dearly. Our youngest daughter, Kimberly, currently lives in Seattle, Washington, and she is 38 years old and works for Amazon. So if you've gotten some packages from Amazon recently, we thank you for keeping her employed. Kimberly is our overachiever. She overachieved while she was going through high school, she overachieved while she was in college, and she continues to overachieve. She's had about 6 or 8 jobs in various parts of the country, Los Angeles to Albuquerque to Washington, D.C., and now to Seattle. She loved Washington, D.C. dearly and would have lived there forever. But in 2016, she decided it was time for a change and picked up and moved all the way across the country to Seattle, which has worked out good for us because now we have one in Portland, Oregon, and we have one in Seattle, Washington. And so when we go to the West Coast, we can see them both. And I would be somewhat remiss if I didn't say thank you to my wife, Jessica. She is definitely the love of my life, and next year will be our 50th anniversary, which is very difficult to believe. However, she is the one that should get the credit for raising 3 wonderful adults, and I love her dearly. I think that the first time that I realized that God created miracles was when the kids were born. Each of them their own individual personality, each of them tiny and helpless and fully dependent on me. And it really was a miracle. As they got to be teenagers, it became less of a miracle. And there were some days when I wondered whether they would see their next birthday, or maybe it was me that was curious as to whether he was going to see his next birthday. They could be the death of me yet. At any rate, they've all become good adults, and they become compassionate adults. They care about their fellow man, they care about their coworkers, they care about their friends, they care about their family. They've also become humble and magnanimous. They realize that they can't do everything themselves. They need to depend on other people, and they thank those other people when they help them out. And lastly, they become hopeful. They're hopeful that our society will become more fairer and equitable, and will become more inclusive of people that are different than we are and that are of different color. So at any rate, be careful out there, be safe, and happy Father's Day.
Hi, my name is Mario Talbot. Father asked me to speak today on what it means to be a father. Well, I was fortunate enough to have three great father figures in my life: my father, my father-in-law, and my wife's grandfather. Using them as examples, I tried to raise my kids in the church as compassionate and respectful human beings. And I believe that happened. Now, granted, you do have normal raising of kids, getting them through school, dealing with normal antics that they go through. But for the most part, I'm proud that they're out on their own. They're college educated. I feel that my wife and I put them in the best position to succeed in life. They're God-fearing, God-loving, respectful, compassionate people. Raising kids was the best thing I ever did, and I'm glad that they turned out as well as they have. But I guess I'm most proud that I know that they love and respect their mother, and that's what I'm most thankful for. So having kids was a great experience for me, and I hope that they are able to pass that on to the next generation. Again, my name is Mario Talbot. Thank you, Father, and I miss going to church. Thanks.
In my Father's Day reflection, I'd like to start with a short story about this bird, a barn swallow that fell out of its nest at the facility where my daughter was teaching horse camp. She brought it home, and then later that evening we took it back, but there were no more baby birds in the nest, no mother around. So for the past week, we've been mother and father to this bird. We've been nurturing it, providing it food and shelter. We've been encouraging it as it learned to fly, sometimes falling with style or running into things. And eventually, probably later today, we'll be releasing the bird back at that where we found it. In a similar vein, though, that is really our role as fathers, to nurture our children, to provide that encouragement as they grow, and then eventually to let them fly and go where they will. My dad was very encouraging to me growing up. In school there was never that demand of you must do X or Y. It was, we'll be happy as long as you do your best. So that was always a good feeling, knowing they were behind me 100%. Warren Boy Scouts, where my dad was, took various leadership roles, including Scoutmaster, but strongly encouraged me to continue on and get my Eagle Scout, which I finally did, because he always regretted that he did not complete his. He fell a few badges short of getting his Eagle Scout and always regretted it. So in retrospect, having that push, even when I didn't really want to at times, was really good. I'm very proud of that success. And then another role as a father is to share your passion with your children. My parents always scrimped and saved during the year so that they could take us on a vacation, usually to the national parks, be it Rocky Mountain National Park or Yosemite or Yellowstone or the Tetons. And to this day, I love the mountains and am most happy when I'm in the mountains. So be sure to share that passion with your children. Maybe they choose not to, don't share that same passion, but in many cases I think they will. And eventually, like Norman, let your children go their own way, find their own path in life, and know that you've done your best to nurture and encourage them throughout their youth, and hopefully that will continue on, and they will do the same with their children. Hopefully I've done the same with my daughter. Not always succeeding, but always trying. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Happy Father's Day. As most of you know, we have a tradition of asking fathers to take over the homily spot on Father's Day and talk a little bit about fatherhood. I've always looked at this day from two different perspectives: the men who've been fathers to me, and then those I have been the father to. I'll focus more on the latter one today. I have two girls, heading into being young women, Summer and Kara. They normally stick out at the front of the church. Both of them were preemies. Summer came rather suddenly, way before we were ready. To a certain degree, that took some of the pressure of waiting to become a father off. Literally one night, way before we had planned for having labor bags packed and phone trees of who to call, Summer started kicking her way out. We found ourselves at the hospital before ever reaching the point of when will this baby come, and instead trying to figure out how long can we keep this baby in. From that moment on, the world's been a blur. Her birth, the NICU, the feedings, the first everythings. Right when we thought we were getting the hang of this thing, boom, here comes Kara. Now we had to do it all over again while having a 1-year-old at our feet as well. It's been just over 10 years. Summer's about to turn 11 next month and Kara 10 right after that. It's still a blur. It changed everything about my perspective, about how I had to live and make choices, about my life with my partner, Erin, who I still think carries the bulk of the load, and she has to deal with me too. And it's certainly changed my waistline. I'm working on that one though. When I first started thinking about being a father, it was very abstract, about what my son or daughter was going to be like. Then it evolved into, look at my precious girls, and the dreams I had for those little balls of joy or terror, depending on the day. As they grow, that perspective has changed again and again. Now I have two very special and unique daughters, each with their own gifts and passions. Before, they were mine. Now they're certainly their own people. My dreams have moved beyond, oh, she'll be this or that, and have shifted more to wondering what they'll do with their lives, and how, above all, I want them to be happy and to be loved. One of my newest memories of being a father happened just this afternoon. I was just teasing one of them, and she pulled away from me and said something like, "I'm not a kid. You aren't funny anymore." I guess I'm doomed. My father, whom I've addressed as father for as long as I can remember, used to love watching Bugs Bunny cartoons. Specifically, Sylvester the Cat cartoons had these scenes between Sylvester and his son. Something bad would happen to Sylvester, and the son would look away and say, "Oh, Father, how will I ever face my friends? For shame!" and put a bag over his head. I feel like I may have started to hit that point with my girls. Hopefully I can get beyond the dad joke phase soon enough and back to watching what these girls will do. I expect that journey will be ongoing, and I'm looking forward to every moment I get of it. Once again, happy Father's Day to all of you out there. We miss you, and we'll see you soon.
Happy Father's Day!